At this time, we're going to pass it over to Allison, who's going to be talking about Remind. So Allison, can you please turn on your mic and your video, and we'll get started.
Great. So I'm going to be talking about the Remind app, which I actually use to communicate with my parents and also my students. So I teach 8th grade history at the Springfield Renaissance School, and teaching in an urban district, they really value parent contact and parent communication, but it's really hard to do that, especially when you have lots of parents who work third shift or, don't have cell phones or anything like that. So I find it really useful. And if you put the legwork in early on in the school year, it really benefits overall. So I think, right, you are assessed on parent communication as one of your professional teaching standards. And so it really helps you meet that target. Making individual phone calls is very time consuming. So it's a good way to keep parents informed in a really short amount of time. So you can send a message, you can send a text message, or they can sign up with their email address if they don't have a phone, and they'll get the message when it's convenient for them, and you can send it when it's convenient for you. You can also schedule messages to be sent at a certain time, which is really useful. You can have lengthy conversations with them via text message, or sometimes I use it to say, I'd like to give you a call tonight. Is there a good time for me to call you? And then they know the phone call's coming. So it allows you to work that way. You don't have to leave voicemails for people who perhaps don't put an outgoing message on their phone. So if you're not sure if that's actually their phone number and you don't want to talk about a student because of confidentiality, it allows sort of that to go away as well. And then also language barriers. I have a couple students in my crew whose parents only speak Spanish, and the app lets you translate messages into, I think they have 40 or 50 different languages that they translate to. And this is all in the free version of the app. So I like to use it because updating parents on progress is really important to me. I have found that in an urban district, with parent support, the students are much more likely to work harder or be more invested in the results if they know that you're working with their parents and it's not this separate entity. So you can easily, update parents on something really small, or if their kid's having a great day, you can just shoot them a quick message. It allows you to send pictures, so you can send a picture of something cool their child just did in class. And then you can also send like general class updates. I have a big assessment coming up in my class this week, and I've been messaging parents to remind them that it's coming and that their students should be studying at home. So you can do the personal one-on-one, or you can do sort of group blasts. So it is a great tool for teachers. There is a free version and there's a paid for version. I use the free version because I really don't need anything above what the free version offers. And with a little time and effort spent, it can really be a useful tool for you. Like I said, I've seen that it helps students improve academically when they know that their parents are on board. Parents feel connected when they have a quick question. If they know how to message you really quickly, they do that. Parents never hesitate to reach out to me on the app, especially because I use it very actively and they know that that's a good way to reach me. It also is a virtual record of your parent contact. So when it comes time to assess you on that standard, on that professional standard, you can get reports from Remind that show your parent contact and your level of communication with parents. And that'll help you receive a proficient or hopefully exemplary on this standard. So there are pros and there are cons of this system. I find to be much more pros than cons. So the first one is for pro is it's free, which is great. It can be used with smartphones, Android phones, iPhones, it doesn't matter. And if they don't have a phone, it can also be used with email addresses. So if they don't have a phone number, they can put in their email, or you can put in their email, and it'll send it to them that way. Like I said before, it translates messages into other languages, so it really helps with that language barrier. Signing people up is really easy. They can sign up, or you can sign them up. I've found in my practice that I have to sign most people up, but that's sort of the legwork in the beginning that I was talking about. But it's once you do, it's well worth it. It's a great platform. You can use it from your phone or your computer. I like to use it from my computer when I'm sending like big group blasts. But if a parent messages me, even during the school day, if I'm on my prep or at lunch, I can just shoot them a reply right back right from my phone. It's really quick. It's really easy to use. I learned it very quickly. And the best thing about it is that you don't have to share your personal phone number. It just goes all through the app. So, I have students on mine as well, and it's a way for them to email me with questions, maybe if they have a question on the homework or an upcoming test, or I've had a lot of students who have said, I'm going to be out, what am I going to miss, right? And so it's a good way to just connect with people without having to share your personal phone number. I am quite glad that I have not given my phone number to many people. But it also then means that you can just reply to them at your leisure, at your pace, right? The cons of it is that with a big group message, a bit like Twitter, the free version limits your number of characters. So if I have a lengthy announcement, I have to send sort of like 3 rapid fire back to back, but it still does the trick. It's just, it is what it is. And then in the beginning of the year, it takes time. It does take maybe 2 hours, I would say. That's probably all I invested in it. And the other con is you have to be willing to switch off at some point, right? I've had students message me at about 10:30 at night. And the teacher in me really is like, oh, I should reply to them, but you have to create boundaries as well. So, I've had parents message me at midnight, and as long as you just set your boundaries that you're not available all hours of the day and you reply when it's convenient for you to reply, then it can be a great thing to use. But if you're one of those people who feels pressured to reply really quickly, that could be a con for you. So here's just some samples of some messages I've had with parents from my actual Remind app. So these are 2 parents, and the top one on the left here, she was having an issue with other teachers communicating with her. So that's sort of another thing I found is that if you are too communicative, and then other teachers maybe are not as communicative, they tend to get grumpy about that. But as long as you're doing your job, I don't see the problem in that. But she was upset that other teachers hadn't been reaching out. So, but as you can see, I reminded her that her student needs to make up an assessment, and that the last day, was that Monday. And so he did. He stayed after, and knowing this student, if I hadn't had his mom's support, he probably wouldn't have done it. And then the bottom one is I needed a project from a student, and she said 3 times, I sent it, and finally I messaged her mom to say, oh, I need this project from her, otherwise it's, going to be a 0. And so she kind of got her daughter to do it. So those are just sort of 2 examples from my actual classroom feeds. I also have a crew, which is sort of like an advisory group, and so I have a separate classroom for my crew and my crew parents. So you can create a bunch of different classrooms in your Remind, and so that's sort of what I'm going to show you now. So I'm going to share my screen with you. We'll see if it works. Yes. Okay. All right, hopefully everybody can see that. So this is my Remind app, and I'm logged in right now. I'm under my US history section. So if I go to home, so this is sort of my home screen here, I can create a class. So I'm going to create a new class just for this demo. This is going to be sort of my classroom tonight. And then you can delete it straight afterwards. So, and it, you know, I will only message people 13 or older. I just click yes. All my students are over 13. So you click create, and then I've got a couple phone numbers here that people send in. So I'm not going to use any names, but person one, let's just put in these phone numbers. And then you just add people this way, right? It's really easy. You can add about 5 people in batches. And let's see. Okay, so those are the 2 phone numbers that I have right now. So I'm going to add these people. It'll say participants successfully added. And then those of you who gave me your phone number, you should have received a text message from Remind that says you've been added to Demo the Village. Now, so Lisa Manzi has the app on her phone already, so her name is populating in here. It would prompt the person to download the app, but they don't have to in order to receive and send messages. So that's the best thing I found about resistant parents is I just signed them up. So what I did in the beginning of the year, which I found very successful, was on my syllabus that I sent home with students, I put an entire section on the bottom of the syllabus about this app and about how I was using this app, and then I encouraged parents to sign up for reminders. And then on the signature page, I just put, sign me up for Remind, yes, no, I want more information. And if they didn't select no, I signed them up. And that's what I did. They didn't opt out, I signed them up to get announcements. And that's how I did it. So they could have signed up themselves. I put the code on my syllabus as well for them to sign up. But if they didn't, I just went in to add people over here and I signed them up. And it's been great. I haven't had any complaints. I don't obsessively send messages. I think that's the important thing, is not to bombard people with messages, but I do send sort of important assessment updates as general messages, or I individually private message people. So there's lots of ways you can add people. You can add people manually here with phone or email. You can get a printable PDF that shows people how to sign up if they want to just download the app and sign up. And you can see here they do it in a lot of different languages. So for my Spanish parents, I have printed a version of this out in Spanish and sent that home with them. In-person instructions, so you can just tell people to text a code to a number, or there's even a link you can share and email somebody. So there's lots of ways to add people, but I've found that in a mass like sign up, this is the best way to do it. It's just easiest if you sign the people up, and it really doesn't take long. So I have a message here from Miss Manzi who says, why won't my kid do her homework, right? This is a private message. You can see here it says the name over here. So, you know, hello, Mrs. Manzi. I'm sorry, but your student, you know, is being lazy. Now, I would, of course, never say that to a parent, but you know, you can just see the message pops up on the screen there, and then Ms. Manzi would have seen that on her end on her phone. This person got the message, which is great. If you want to send a group message, you just go up to the little compose button. You can do an individual message. So if you have a lot of people in your list, you can, you know, click individual message and search for their name. Or you can send a class announcement. So this is sort of the standard one they do. As you can see in the bottom here, right, it's counting my characters. So that's what I meant about it limits your characters. But here, if you click translate, these are all the languages you could choose to translate your message into. I mean, there's a bunch of them. I've used Spanish, I've used Vietnamese, and I've used Somali. So it's really useful, and I know that once parents understand that it's available, they're really happy to do that. And then schedule. So this is where you can schedule. You can send it right away, or you can schedule it if you want it to go out Tuesday at, 2:05 a.m. Why would you ever want to do that? But it's there. It's all broken down into 5-minute increments. And you just click schedule and it goes. You can upload a photo, a video, a file, anything like that. And so I'm going to get rid of schedule. And I'm just going to send that out. And then it goes to this column here that says everyone. And that's how you send a group message. Now, in the background here, my phone is vibrating because every time I send a message through the desktop version, it also appears on my phone on the app. So I can, see what I sent. And then that way, if people reply, I get it on my phone and you get it on the desktop notification. So that's really sort of the basics. That's really as much as I do with it. There's not much more to do. If you need to look for people, you click on people and it lists everyone in your group who's joined that classroom. On my US history one, I probably have 98, I think, people. And it's a combination of students and parents. I didn't start with 98. I started with probably about 70 parents and students, but the more assessments I had during the year or the more projects we were working on, people, I would say to students like, well, if you signed up for the app, you can ask me questions, and so that's how I kind of roped kids into it as well, is sort of that, if you're working on this and you have a question, contact me, right? Because that's what it's for. It's for you to ask questions. So somebody doesn't want them to study, but anyway. So it's a great app. I really love it. I mean, even on the snow day that just happened the other day, students were messaging me being like, what's going to happen with our big test? So, it's just a good way. It says here it's outside your office hours. You can set office hours. I don't think I mentioned that. You can, this is your profile and all that sort of stuff. So, but yeah, I usually set my office hours for 2 to 7 p.m. Even if you set them, you'll still get messages and you can still send messages. It just says it's outside your office hours. So at least people would know, like, oh, they probably won't reply, but you can still reply. So unless people have questions right now, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And I think unless there's questions, which I think might happen at the end, I'm done.
Thank you so much, Allison, for teaching us all about Remind, and thanks especially for the interactive part. I think that was really helpful for those of us who haven't used it yet, like myself.